What's going on? Good morning, everyone. It is Wednesday. It's 11 o'clock Eastern. I'm adjusting my mic like a rookie because I got a legend in here today. We're going to get into who Neil Leifer is. If you don't know, shame on you, first of all, but I'm going to go through some sponsors so you got a chance to Google it and redeem yourself. Before I get into who Neil Leifer is, this is 42 West 18th Street. This is not a green screen. You are welcome here anytime in these seats as well as in that chat. So make sure you're checking it out. But I got to say a quick thank you to Sony for sponsoring this. If you know Sony, another legendary. This is like the iconic brand. Of course, the A7R6 just got announced today. The 100 to 400 f4.5 got announced right now. And I've got a Sony ambassador, Neil Leifer, with me, but also you've got the FX series, FX3, FX30, FX6, all legacy cameras at this point. The A9 III, which is a global shutter full frame. Forget about it. You know about Sony. Hit the link down below for their full lineup. And you're right.
I'm fine.
Okay. And I want to give a quick thank you to Gotham Roasters. Oh, I'm sorry. Before I do Gotham Roasters, let me say thanks to Tenba, because Tenba was hearing we are doing this show and they're like, we want to support it. So, Neil, I got you something. This is a custom Tenba camera bag with the metal plate engraved Coffee with Creators logo.
Well, thank you.
No, thank you.
This
man.
I'll put it to good use.
I'm sure you
This is
will.
about the size bag I like to carry. nothing big these days.
You scaled back that kit.
It's part of getting a little older.
Well, you know, older but more legendary. So Tenba was started right here in New York in 1977 by a photographer. If you've been in this industry long enough, you probably had something Tenba. I say this every show. I love your tech cases with the clear window. They saved my life. And I want to give a last thank you to Gotham Roasters. Cheers. I always do a cheers. What'd you get, Neil?
Black coffee.
Attaboy. That's how you do it. That's a New Yorker right there. You're not going to judge me for having iced coffee, are you?
No, and I'm not going to finish mine because it'll be my third cup in the morning. So.
Gotham Roasters, one block up on 19th Street, owned by a photographer and filmmaker. If you're going to come over to Adorama, go to them, say Adorama sent you, get something, hang out here, come to a class, say what's up. All right. Okay. Now all the stuff's done. Who is Neil Leifer? First of all, why am I even saying that? Neil Leifer this is a bucket list guest for me. You have no idea. It's the first time I get to meet this man. We're talking about a guy whose legendary career goes into the mainstream of our actual lives, whether you're a photographer or not. His images have been in your life, whether you know it or not. We're talking about, I don't know, somewhere around 16 Olympic Games, 12 Super Bowls, 4 FIFA Cups, about 200, I think sports, just 200 magazine covers in total. The Sonny Liston photo has been burned into your skull. And there's just so much imagery that came out of one man that not only showed us something, but made us feel something that impacted our lives and not just recorded history, but made you realize how important that history was. And I can't tell you how crazy it is. Every time one of your shots come up, I don't have to think about it. I know that was shot by Neil because I can feel you behind that lens because you're still as excited about shots today as you were decades ago. So guys, welcome the one and only, the mythical. I call you mythical because I'm like, oh wow, you're really here. Neil Leifer, guys, man, thank you for being here.
Well, first, thank you, Seth. Thanks for having me. I never thought I'd sit with someone who actually spoke faster than I do, but this is a first. But I appreciate it. I appreciate the introduction.
No, thank you for your time. I don't take anything that I said there lightly. I mean, you're still brought into play today for what you've already been accomplished. I'm going to bring up he did a photo shoot with The Rock from WrestleMania 40 because of the Muhammad Ali pedigree that you have, but we'll get into that. The first I want to start off with, you are from New York, my man. You are Lower East Side born and bred, and that is awesome. Just to give you an idea of how legitimate and genuine Neil is, he got asked, what do you think it's pronounced, ISO or ISO, before we got started? And my man goes, ASA. That is the real deal. I'm so psyched you said that.
Well, I grew up with that. I still confuse the two. The question I asked you was why? Why was it changed? I had never heard. One day, people stopped talking about film and the ASA that was rated. I had no idea how that began or why it began, and I still don't. But,
yeah. Well, I think what happened is it stopped being the film you take out of the box and started being inside the camera with the digital sensors. And so they had to pick one or the other. And I think they're with ISO because that's international and they got to sell cameras all over the world. But that's a whole nother story. Guys, we are live. If you have any questions, throw them in that chat for sure. So look, you have had shot after shot out there, but you still keep this energy of you can't wait for the next shot. I still feel it off of you. I still think you're excited when you see your name under an image that gets put out there. How is it not dimmed for you? How are you not jaded? How are you not just like, it's another day because I'm doing this for decades?
It's a very good question. I have no idea why. All I can tell you is that I love doing what I do. I still do shoot a little bit different. I'm not working for a magazine anymore. I'm working pretty well for myself, my own projects, but I enjoy it. And I've always been enthusiastic about anything I wanted to do, and I wanted to do it well. And photography is it's still a challenge to me, and I love what I'm doing, and that's why I keep doing it. And the enthusiasm that you speak about is it comes naturally. If you like what you're doing, you're going to be enthusiastic about it. I would think.
Well, you've also didn't just stay stagnant. I mean, you went into multiple sports. You went from just like one sport to like all the sports basically. You're known primarily for boxing, mainly because you're the most historic guy ever to be the only photographer inducted into the Hall of Fame of boxing, which is a feat to its own, right? Because you weren't just photographing boxing, you were part of that culture, you were part of that world, and I think you got that respect level from the athletes, right?
I hope so. I think the people that vote you into the Hall of Fame are not athletes. They're generally writers, which I've always found fault with. I think there should be photographers on selection committees because writers frequently hang out with writers. Photographers hang out with photographers. A lot of the writers don't know very many photographers. They wouldn't be able to evaluate who deserves to be voted for. And the Baseball Hall of Fame, for example, doesn't have any photographers in it, as far as I know, and should.
Yeah, when I think about photographers at your level and your historic run, I would say, I always think about like putting photographers versus musicians. So when people hear a song that they've heard forever, they go, wait, who does this song? They try to look up the musician of the band. But when they see an image they've seen forever in their lives, you very rarely go, I wonder who shot that. Who do you think shot that? Let me go look that up. Is that something that you've always thought like you didn't get we never get enough credit for what we're doing out there? Because you've hustled like crazy. I mean, the era you were shooting in, you weren't talking about a digital back that you were looking at. You carried multiple light meters to make sure everything wasn't lying to you. I mean, the work you did is probably 10 times what we're doing today with what we have in our hands.
Yeah, but I was always a credit reader. I still love the photographers that I grew up admiring, the great life staff photographers. They were my heroes. And I want to make one point. And I'm glad I'm getting an opportunity to do this with the kind of audience you have. I'm very, very proud of the career I had. I do not consider myself a sports photographer. Number one, I've been a filmmaker for the last 20 years. I've made a number of films. I've directed 2 feature films. I've done a slew of sports-related documentaries and non-sports related. I mean, I worked with Sandra Day O'Connor. I did a documentary for HBO on Sandra Day O'Connor, former Supreme Court Justice. I've done books and photographs. I moved from sports photography, from totally being immersed in sports photography. I moved from Sports Illustrated magazine to Time magazine. I was on the staff at Time for 12 or 14 years. I shot 40 Time magazine covers. I like to tell people I photographed everything from Charles Manson to the Pope, which is true.
Yeah.
In fact, I had covers on the Pope and on 4 of the American presidents. I enjoyed taking pictures, and I'm very proud of my non-sports work. You get pigeonholed sometimes, and it's a little unfair. This is not in any way to diminish what I accomplished as a sports photographer. But so much of my work is remember the name that is synonymous with Neil Leifer is Muhammad Ali. Yep. It's not fair, really. And I love my Ali pictures, and more important, I loved Ali, one of the great human beings ever. You couldn't dream of a better subject. But I also loved covering the animals of Africa. I did a lot of work with the Navy. I flew with Top Gun, Blue Angels, and I love doing those things, and I'm proud of the pictures, but nobody talks about those pictures except me.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean, please don't misunderstand how proud I am of the years I spent shooting sports, and I'm still shooting sports pictures today. I'm leaving on Monday for Cairo, Egypt, to photograph a heavyweight championship boxing match. It's going to be held right below the pyramids in Cairo.
Jeez.
And I couldn't miss that. I was invited to come, and I'm going.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think it's incredible to think that anybody only does one thing. I think people just only get exposed to one thing.
But I've been so much of the publicity I've gotten over the years. I've been very, very fortunate. Most of what's been written about me is really favorable. I've had very little negative if any negative.
And we can fix that. Do you want me to start negative? Do you want me to get you?
Listen, talk a little faster. Who knows?
We can finish this coffee. I'll talk fast.
No, I'm enjoying listening to you.
Yeah, bro, man. I mean, your stories are just nuts, and we've just met, but like I gotta tell you, even you telling your stories has been stories. Like people go, well, it just echoes. I don't think you realize like this aura that you had, man.
No. As I said, I'm very proud of what I did, and I understand why people. It's a little bit. In fact, I'm sure at some point we're going to talk about the Ali Liston picture, and everyone always talks about this being the greatest sports picture. Now, number one in my experience, I know a lot of photographers. I'm friendly with a lot of photographers. I always was. I don't know a single good photographer. If you ask me for a quality you want to find in a good photographer, they're all have a healthy ego. I've never met a modest photographer. And there's some are very polite and they fake it, but a photographer to be really good should have a healthy ego. And I certainly do.
Confidence?
And pardon me?
Isn't it just confidence at some point?
Well, you gain confidence as you have experience and as you get more and more of your work seen. But the point is that you have to be confident in what you're doing and be proud of it and sort of I guess at the end of the day, always think the next shot's going to be your best one. You can always do a little bit better. Yeah. And that's the way I've always looked at my photography. But Ali Liston picture is very simple. I always tell people, greatest sports picture of the century? No. My Ali Williams picture, I'll accept that if you said it about that one, right? Picture. That's my favorite picture.
It's amazing.
It's always been. And I could get into a long explanation as to why, but just to get back, the point about Ali Liston is this. The Ali Liston picture, were it a preliminary, the fights that precede the main event, instead of it being Ali Liston, were it the third fight of the evening when half the audience isn't even in the arena yet. If I took exactly that same picture, exactly the same, you had someone that was as animated as Ali is in the picture. You had the lighting was exactly the same. Everything was the same, but it was nobody you ever heard of. Would anyone be talking about that picture today? And remember, the picture did not make the cover of my magazine, Sports Illustrated. The cover is the gold medal.
Yeah.
Did not make the cover. They used the cover. It was done by a Life magazine photographer named George Silk. Not my picture. My picture was page 4 in a 4-page essay that they did inside on the fight. The reason that picture is so famous today, and it's given me the notoriety it has given me, is because of the way Ali became this iconic figure in American history. I mean, he's on a U.S. postage stamp now, and deservedly so. The picture would have been totally forgotten the next day had it been done in an earlier fight. Could have been just as good.
Yeah, but don't you think one of the things that's like a bane of our existence is we don't get to pick which of our images have the impact to the viewer, which is the most important part.
No, but this is a photography. We're having a photography conversation. We're not talking about where he stands in American legend and American lore, folklore.
Yeah.
But take the Ali Williams picture and look at it. I've been taking pictures now for 70 years, since I was 11, 12 years old, okay? And I've taken some pretty good ones over the years. I will tell you that picture is the only picture in my entire career that I still look at. It sits in I hang it diamond shape. It still it's in my living room. It's in my living room. It's the only picture I've ever taken. The remote camera's 80 feet above the ring, but it's the only picture I've ever taken that to this day, there's nothing I would change. I wouldn't change the lighting. I wouldn't change where they're sitting. I wouldn't change the frame. That's full frame. That was a Hasselblad photo, full frame. I wouldn't change anything. I don't operate that way. Normally, if I take a picture, and the reason I brought up ego and how I've taken some pictures that I thought, wow, when I see them in the magazine, say, boy, I hit a grand slam. This picture's really super. And then a year later, sometimes as early a month later, I look at it and I say, well, it is a great picture, but it could have been better if I had done this little tweak. It would be better. If the next time, instead of shooting with my 28 millimeter lens, I shot with my 24. Whatever I could always see something I could improve. The lighting is good. It would have been better if I had a little heavier backlight. It could have been better if I had done this or that. 5 years, 10 years from now, I probably see three things that would make that picture better. It's what motivates you to go back and do it again.
Yeah,
Otherwise, who wants to keep shooting the same picture?
Oh, no.
But if you can make it better, you do. The Ollie Williams picture is the only picture I've ever taken that I'm sure there are others, if I thought about it picture by picture, that I would say I wouldn't change anything. But every one of them, I usually see something. I say, wow, imagine if
I tell it to everybody, I'm like, there's so many variables that go into one frame, and you yourself
Yeah.
are always growing and changing, and things that you learn or your style or your point of view
But
changes.
that's about ego. That's the point is that if you start telling yourself how great you are, boy, that I do great, then you don't improve.
And you get lazy. Yeah, absolutely.
That picture, Ollie Williams, that I couldn't improve that tomorrow or a year from now or 2 years from now. It's not going to happen.
You know what I wanted to ask you about this photo was, am I wrong? Are you in the top left somewhere?
Yes.
You are?
Blue shirt on the canvas, about, yeah, right. That's it, right there.
Right.
Yep.
I knew it. All right. Dan, you owe me money.
And don't forget, this is with strobe lights, so it's one frame. These are one frame that are same with Ollie Liston.
Chrome? Was this Chrome?
Of course, yeah.
And what people don't realize is that shot, that point of view, actually,
Digital didn't exist. It had to be chrome.
but it could have been negative. It could have been, that's why I'm asking if it was Chrome.
We never shot negative. No.
Okay. A lot of people don't realize that shot almost can't exist in most arenas today because there's so much stuff above the ring that that would be in the way from rigging a camera.
That isn't the problem. The problem is on the canvas. The canvas has become a platform to advertise your products.
Yeah,
I mean, what beer company is sponsoring the fight? What hotel is housing the athletes and the television people and whoever else? What television? What cable network is televising the fight? The promoters logo is usually in the middle of the frame. It's like just a canvas full of tattoos.
Yep. All right, listen, man. But yeah, but
he said to Seth.
Do you remember when they boxers started having temporary tattoos on their back as advertisements? It was killing all the photos for me. It was like gambling websites on their back, and I'm like, what are we doing now? But I think that's part of the sport, is how they hustle to get the most amount of money out of a fight.
You hit it on the head. The most amount of money. The greatest example of that was not the tattoos that were on the back of the fighter.
Yeah.
I don't remember who the fighter was, sold the right to have the bottom of his shoes tattooed, which meant when he got knocked out, his feet would be out facing the camera, and you'd see Budweiser beer or whatever he was advertising.
If you're gonna lose, you might as well get paid for it, right?
You got it.
What would you say outside of sports and boxing has been your favorite subject outside of sports that you think? Because I feel like a lot of photographers, we get pigeonholed. You're right, but everything else we shoot hones are what we actually are known for. Like I have to shoot special effects, but all the product stuff I've shot, all the beauty I've shot goes into the creepy zombies I shoot too. So what is something you shoot that's not sports that you feel is like your favorite?
I want to shoot the creepy zombies. I like that.
Let's do it.
Haven't done it.
Can we do it? I will do it today. You want to do this? We can do it. Neil, I swear I can make this happen.
And this lunch?
I mean, yeah. Dude, if we get, I would be honored.
I always got excited about it. I was in a lucky position. I don't want to say that I was able to. I wasn't the boss. I always had a picture editor or a managing editor, somebody. But basically, many years ago, I earned the right to say no. If I wasn't interested in a particular subject, then I didn't think I could bring my enthusiasm and my expertise to whatever the assignment. I tried to get out of it. I didn't want to do things because I got excited. So when you asked me what my favorite, when I shot the animals of Africa, I went a 7 week, which is the good old days of the magazine business. I went for 7 weeks to Kenya to shoot the animals. Mid-80s. 84, 80. Yeah, no, 85, 86.
This is in the days of Life magazine, Nat Geo, the whole thing.
Well,
right?
yeah. But the point is that, I never dreamed. I mean, to me, the Bronx Zoo is where I saw animals. What a thrill to get up. And the fun of it, very similar to sports, because you wake up in the morning, you have no idea what today is going to bring. Yeah. Is today going to be the day when you see a massive herd of reticulated giraffes in good light with a beautiful pattern on the necks, or a lion killed right in front of you, or a cheetah in a tree with with its kill. I mean, you can't predict, and I love doing that. I had great, so I was very enthusiastic. I've been a Navy buff for years. I got an opportunity to fly with the Blue Angels once, and then I flew with Top Gun. It was a great thrill. I was as excited about that as I've ever been about a heavyweight championship fight.
Wild.
I spent a year photographing prisons in America for Time magazine. I had, I loved it. I covered politics. I covered the White House. I always enjoyed. I mean, I was in Geneva when Ronald Reagan met Gorbachev for the first time for Time magazine. Those were thrills to me, you know. So it didn't have to be sports, and I'm very proud of the other work I did. And I always wish I would get some credit for it. I'm taking advantage of this opportunity to give myself some credit for it.
Please, please. And honestly, I would love, I like artists when they put out their B-sides, their other hidden tracks. So I think you should put out a book that's just everything that people don't know you shoot. I think that'd be amazing.
Find me a publisher that's going to publish it. I'll do it.
Let's make this happen. Come on. My man's over here. You're at your agent over here. You know, it's kind of wild when you think back on your career and this, you have pretty much all the benchmarks young photographers would hope to have today, but it kind of doesn't even exist. Like a Life magazine cover or a Nat Geo cover, like that stuff.
I dreamed of that stuff.
Yeah, and you got it, man. You are the create a character in a video game if we made a photographer. Like, this is crazy to me that you don't even realize. There's a bunch of questions that I'm sorry, guys. I'm like all honed in here. I apologize.
What would you call a character? That's what I wanted.
What would I call a character? Oh,
what,
man.
no, what would you call it? What would you name the character in your fictional Neil Leifer video?
Oh man, I don't even know. I got to think. Can I get back to you on this?
Sure.
Well, after we shoot the zombie together, I'll give you a name. How's that? You know? So actually, someone is asking how you got the Ali Liston angle. So you were everyone else, if you look at that photo, everyone else is on the other side of Ali. How were you just stationed on the other side of the ring, or
There are 4 sides in the ring. Each side had photographers, some photography positions. The Associated Press photographer, not just sitting shoulder to me, but one seat over from me, he got the same picture in black and white. It's been published a million times. I mean, no, every those seats are precious, and Sports Illustrated had 2 of them. I was in one. Photographer on the other side, coincidentally, is a guy named Herb Schaufman. It was a terrific boxing photographer. Took the most famous Rocky Marciano picture, but he was in the wrong seat that day. He was sitting right between Ali's legs. You see him with his camera, and the bald photographer right in the middle. That's him. Yep. So I don't care how good he was. He's getting a picture of Ali's rear end that night, you know. And
well, you know what's crazy? Speaking of like what's different today, cameras are shooting so quick, like 30 frames per second. What's really interesting is like your image of Ali, you could have shot 3 frames back to back, sold one this way, then you actually have a different frame that's almost exactly the same that's yours. Like the rights can go in different directions now, which is kind of wild when you think about that as a progression.
yeah, but I never thought about selling. How I'm going to sell. I thought about getting the best picture of the fight, and sequence cameras, and of course in those days we shot with strobe lights. You needed them to get the quality in the color. I mean, basically shooting a boxing match or a basketball game or, with strobe lights. We'd light Madison Square Garden for a basketball game. We'd light the ring for a fight, and essentially it was no different than a fashion photographer shooting in a studio with ASA film, probably with 64 ASA film,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
on a medium format camera. And I shot boxing the same way. The quality was amazing, so it looked that way. But the sacrifice was you 1 frame at a time. You can't shoot strobe. It took 3 seconds for the recycle.
Yeah.
And depending on how big a lighting setup we had, sometimes with 5 or 6 seconds. We used to light when you lit the whole garden. The power packs, you had enough.
Speedotrons, baby.
Yeah, well, before that, Ascors and and Speedotrons. And when you did that stuff, you had, depending on how much power you were using, you had to wait 5, 6, maybe even 7 seconds.
Agonizing seconds, right? Yeah, though, and your timing was everything. Not just the timing of what you're looking at, but your timing of your equipment and everything.
You were hopefully thinking 6 different things at the same time.
That's why you speak fast. It's sharp. You can stay sharp. You can stay sharp. But you know what I think is a little lost now, and I don't know. Maybe you don't think of it this way, but my career started in film, and you used to shoot something, and you have this anticipation of when you got to the image to when you delivered it to whatever you were shooting it for. Now you're looking at it in real time. Some people are even taking it from that to their phone and sending it to a social media manager. Like Do you think that we've lost that, like, and I call it anxiety because I don't know what else to call it, but like that anxiety, you shot it and you're almost like, I better get this somewhere quick because I got something special and I got to get it over there. I got to get a process. Hopefully it came out. Like, do we lose that somewhere? Do you feel?
I've not lost it, and I'm shooting with digital cameras obviously now. I love the idea of seeing into the back of the camera. You know, I don't have to worry about that. We used to worry about that I get it in focus. Don't forget today that I get in focus is my exposure on the money, because you really didn't have very much latitude with the film.
Yeah, chrome
film
for like half a stop.
Half a stop, maybe more likely a quarter of a stop in terms of in terms of printing it and getting the best quality out of it. And so you had to be technically proficient in terms of your exposure, but there was no such thing as autofocus. You had to focus the lens, and sports photography in particular, not boxing, not basketball, but football, baseball, is primarily long lens photography. So there's an eye-hand coordination for using, I mean, the normal lens for a football game for me would have been a 400 or a 600 often, certainly the 400. 300 would be a not wide angle, but it certainly wouldn't be long enough for most of what I did. I covered a lot of football, horse racing, same thing. You know, you want to come in close.
You know, a lot of the shots that are really prolific from your catalog, I feel, is right place, right time, but you have to have gotten there first, right? How much scouting have you done over the years? Or has it just been like, I learned this from the last shoot, now I know next time I'll go here? Or do you scout beforehand?
I still do. Listen, I'm going to Cairo for this boxing match.
Yeah.
I've shot at the pyramids in the Sphinx before. I did part of an Olympic essay for Time magazine where I shot an Egyptian athlete in front of the pyramids. So I had a little, but this is a night event. They have a sound and light. I know they light the pyramids. I've been studying it I've been looking online now to see what it's going to be like. I always like to come knowing something about what the possibilities are. And sometimes you find something when you get there that you never thought about. More often than not, I come up with a solution that I thought about when I was sitting back at home looking at images taken at the same location or whatever.
Do you find that there's any of the technology that gets in your way now from like older habits that you've developed over the years? Like you just like forget it. I don't care what it does. Put it in all manual. I can't deal with anything this thing's going to do without me.
No, I like to have a little bit of control. I don't do all manual, I'm computer semi-literate. Cameras are fancy computers today. And I grew up in an era before the cameras, before you had to you didn't program a computer. You programmed you set your ISO, ASA. You had to choose. Essentially, the whole idea of the quality. Photographers my age, a lot of photographers, they're still talking about the good old days. I think the cameras today, and I really mean this, and I know a lot of my friends that are my age or photographers, they miss the old days. The cameras are better than ever.
Yeah.
The idea, don't ask me what 50 megapixels mean, but I'm a Sony artisan, and I shoot my camera. My go-to camera is a Sony A1.
Okay.
And I love 50 megapixels. You shoot. I know I don't have to pack the frame. When I was shooting, even with good quality Kodachrome, even when Kodachrome was 25 ASA, certainly when it was 64 ASA, you wanted to pack the frame, because if you wanted to blow it up real big, you wanted to make a 40 by 60 print, even with good quality film, you couldn't really float the image, which is a great advantage if you don't have to, particularly in sports, is you don't know what's coming from the right or what's coming from the left in the next image. I love the digital format. I like the luxury of not having to be as precise as one had to be in the past.
You worked hard enough, you get to relax a little bit in these.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the cameras, the lenses, the opportunity. But I really do think that even with the new technology, in my personal opinion, it's still a photographer, not the great system. You have to use the system.
Right.
What I always said about, there's a word that is kind of you always seem falsely modest when you keep talking about how much luck is involved. Going back to sports photography, luck is a big factor. As I said, Liston, photographer on the other side of the ring, Herb Schaufman, for me, also shooting for the same. We were competing that night for the same magazine. He wasn't lucky. I was in a lucky seat, and the job, what they're paying you to do. I mean, this wasn't charity. The magazine sent me and expected me to perform, to produce. When you get lucky, a good photographer doesn't miss. That's the key to it. That's the whole thing.
The luck you hedge your bets with more experience and insights. You hedge your bets to be a little bit more luckier that night.
Oh, you can make sure you have a big part of being lucky is making your luck happen, but not always. A great race. 400 meters, the 1 mile race at the Los Angeles Olympics. One of the biggest stories was a little South African girl named Zola Budd who ran barefoot. And she's running against Mary Decker, the great American runner, who was big favorite to win the medal. Every photographer that knew anything about what's like that had an opportunity wants to be at the finish line because you're thinking they could come in right next to each other, neck and neck, and whatever. Well, David Burnett chooses to shoot at the fourth turn. I could have been at the fourth turn. Mary Decker and Zola Budd, they click feet. Mary Decker falls down. It's an iconic image. It's known as much as my Ali Liston picture of her on the ground, having just lost her Olympic opportunity. He was in the lucky seat, but he didn't miss. He wasn't the only photographer at turn 4, but there's no other picture like that one that I know of.
Right. And that's kind of my next question is kind of, I feel the audience has changed for the imagery. So when we talk about how good the cameras have gotten like that, you could be a little bit out of focus as long as you got the moment and the impact and it was an image that still resonated with people. But today, I feel because the cameras are so advanced, if you're just a hair off of like an eyelash, you're criticized a little harder. But it's like, well, it was the camera. Like calm down. Like
I like sharp pictures.
Yeah.
But you're right. You're absolutely right.
The expectations of the audience has changed, I think.
I don't know. I think people notice when something's out of focus. People notice when it's not framed very well.
That's true.
Certainly. It's art. I mean, photography is, after all, an art form. And it's just, I always tell people when you look at why is the photographer that really matters more than the camera, even today with how good the cameras are, because the photographer chooses the focal length of the lens. The photographer, it's no different than an artist facing a blank canvas. The frame you have is a blank canvas, and how you fill that frame is what makes for special photography. And in terms of images that live forever, the photographer usually did something very right to make it so.
Yeah, I always tell people, and you guys, if you watch the channel, I always say every decision in that frame is a word in a sentence, where we has to speak, it has to communicate, When you go into a studio, like I'm primarily a commercial photographer. When you go into a blank studio, it feels like a blank page, and the stress starts hitting. Like, where do I start?
That's exactly the point I was trying to make. You're 100% right. And as I say, when in sports in particular, where luck is such a factor, it isn't the same in the studio. You're putting everything in the picture. You're posing the subject. But with sports, where you have no idea, is that you got at the Kentucky Derby. Is the winning horse going to come in on the rail or in the middle of the track? And it happens every year both ways. Sometimes you see the horse. You don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
And how you in that instant make the right decision is what separates a really good sports photographer from. But it's the same in just general news coverage. As I say, I worked for Time Magazine and I worked for Life Magazine. When you cover things, news. You want to be in the right position, and then you don't want to miss. And that's how if I'm the picture editor, and I've been a picture editor, when you're the picture editor and you're looking for a photographer, you're looking for a guy who's going to make a hero out of you on that moment, that day when you send. And today, by the way, I keep saying you're looking for a guy. Some of my favorite sports photographers right now are women. I mean, when I started, you never saw a woman on the sideline at a football game. Was certainly not on the apron at a boxing match.
Oh, we had Elsa Garrison in here. Her stories are incredible. And then her picture from the Olympics, this past Olympics, with the busted
Yeah.
hockey player, I still see it in my head. It's
No,
very-
I know else. My favorite is Gene Fruth.
Gene, yeah.
It's just a brilliant. Baseball is the hardest sport to photograph for me.
Really? Yeah.
Well, you fall asleep half the time. Nothing. How do you photograph a pitcher's duel? It's one thing when you get a slam bang double play, you know, with the sliding runner with the spikes up and then the second baseman jumping, or a great play at home plate. But when you get a great pitcher's duel, you get two pitchers going into today none of them go to the eighth inning, but they used to go the whole. Where you get two pitchers going into the eighth inning, and one's throwing a two-hitter, and the only two hits were little bloop singles into the outfield. Nothing happens. Good baseball photographers make good pictures out of nothing happening.
Oh, that's
I'm not
great.
good at that.
That is amazing.
I fall asleep. I think it's time for a hot dog.
I'm not a baseball fan. I am. Listen, I came from BMX and skateboarding.
Yeah.
Not the whole.
And Jean, I've been a fan of Jean's for a long time. She's a friend of mine. I'm prejudiced.
Yeah.
But she takes wonderful baseball pictures.
We shot we did a sports workshop with her. She did a hands-on workshop where she shot basketball for us, which was really
Oh,
yeah. Yeah. Is there any of the shots that got away from you that you still think about? Because I think every photographer has that. I have like a list of them that eat at my soul every day I wake up, you know? So I'm just wondering if there's something out there. Because you were at level. You were in some iconic moments in our history. Has there been shots you've missed?
I'll give you the best one that I could think about. We covered a big football game. There's at least two of us. Today will be the Super Bowl. They might have 5 photographers. But Walter Yost was my major competitor at Sports Illustrated. Great sports photographer. Great photographer, period. Great sports photographer. Walter and I covered the Ice Bowl, the famous Ice Bowl in Green Bay. Bitter cold. And the only difference is Walter hates the cold. I couldn't work with gloves. I couldn't change film. I always worked. I had a really, really good day. I'll give you 2 examples. I had a very, very good day at the Ice Bowl, and now it comes down there. 10 seconds left in the game. The Green Bay Packers are losing by 3 points or 5 points. I don't remember how many. They're on the 1-yard line. There's time for one more play. Now, I'd covered a lot of Green Bay football, so I'm bringing my knowledge as a sports fan to my photography. Vince Lombardi calls timeout. They're clearly going to run what used to be known as the Green Bay sweep because the ground was so frozen that it's going to be too slippery to do a quarterback sneak.
Okay.
They have one play. They're either going to get it in and win the game and go to. By the way, that put them in the first Super Bowl or second Super Bowl. I think it was the first Super Bowl. Winning that game, either the Cowboys or the Packers were going to go in. My job now is to get the winning touchdown. Walter chooses to go right in front, and Walter was a great football photographer. So I said, and he's hoping for a quarterback sneak. I, bringing all my knowledge, say there's no way they're going to try the quarterback sneak. They're going to do the sweep. They're two of the 2 great pulling guards. They used to call them. Fuzzy Thurston and Kramer, I think was the other one.
Fuzzy Thurston, that sounds like a name. Let me tell you.
Yeah, there he was. Anyway, they were going to pull out, and either Bart Starr would carry it himself, or he would hand it off to Jimmy Taylor, and they'd sweep around and score the winning touchdown, or lose the game one way or the other. Well, I positioned myself in the perfect spot to get the sweep. I even knew that they more likely were going to go to the right, not the left. Well, guess what? Bart Starr does a quarterback sneak. It's right in front. As soon as I saw it, I didn't have to look at the back of the camera. You couldn't. There was no. Yeah. I looked over. I saw Walter right in the middle of where he should be, and he got the pictures. I missed that. Ali Liston was, of course, when I got so lucky. It all happened right. Well, the biggest fight in the 80s was in the 70s, I'm sorry, was the famous Ali-Joe Frazier fight at Madison Square Garden. It's still called the fight of the century. Whether fight of the century, they call it every 10 years they call another fight the fight of the century. But the fact is,
right?
the fact is that at that fight, I had fights used to be 15 rounds, heavyweight championship, Madison Square Garden, and I had 14 rounds. I was having a good night. Again, couldn't see the back of it, but I knew I was having a real good night. And then in the 15th round, Joe Frazier knocks Muhammad Ali to the canvas. I was in the same seat like Herbie, looking up at Joe Frazier's rear end instead of Ali's. It couldn't have been in a worse spot. My competitor was a photographer named Tony Triolo. He was in the perfect seat. Well, he got the cover of the magazine. I knew as soon as it happened. I knew. I wish this could have a second chance.
Night, right?
Yeah.
You get the next night, right? That's what keeps you going, right?
Next night, and that kind of situation doesn't come along once in a lifetime. Sometimes.
Did you have any rivals out there? Were you over elbowing for space against the guy that was chasing pages like you, or?
Elbowing was a way of life, certainly with New York press photographers.
Yeah,
So you
dude.
had to watch those guys, but not really. I always wanted to win. I was very, very competitive, but I'm very proud of the fact I can honestly say I wanted to do it with integrity. I wanted to take better pictures than my competitor. I didn't want to. I'd get upset when the editor would choose the wrong picture. I took the best picture today, and he chose your picture.
Yeah.
And geez, can't they see the difference?
So how do you hedge that, right? Do you go with
You don't. You can't. You have no say over that.
Well, when you submit images, would you go, I know the general public would probably like this image more, but I know my editor likes this stuff more. Have you ever done something like that?
No, for starters, you're not in the room when they're making these choices. It all happens very quick. On the news magazine, we went to press, certainly with football, it was the night of the game. Sunday nights when the magazine went to press. You're not there half the time. And I've had some very, very good victories that I didn't deserve because my competitor had a better pictures. I could see them, and I had, I had some very triumphs when it wasn't the right choice.
What's interesting about the sports photography world is that you're all shooting at the same time. In my world, I'd bid for campaigns and I'd watch someone else get the campaign. I have to wait to see what they did, but I didn't even get a chance at that subject. You're all at the same subject. You literally are competing at the exact same moments. I mean, did that ever weigh on your brain at all? Like,
no, because it's fun. Because I may, for starters, let's say 4 of us are shooting a football game, 2 on each sideline. We're not going to be next to each other. Secondly, we're going to, I said, my 400 and 600 will be my normal lens. You might like the 300. You're willing to wait until the action comes closer to you to fill the frame. The bottom line, remember, we had to fill the frame as much as possible.
Right.
Because blowing up a small segment of it, like you can today, where you have a digital camera that's shooting 50 megapixels,
yeah,
you can do it.
Absolutely.
And with no loss of quality. The quality of the magazine would still look great. That wasn't the case then. So
there were some legendary people shooting 4x5 on sports that was just nuts to me, which does give you the resolution sort of, but still.
Not this century.
Yeah. Well, did you ever look at this like it's not a competition, but you're all just getting different perspectives? Did you ever look at it like that? Like you're not all competing, maybe?
No, I'm sure I thought of that. I can't tell you a specific time when that entered my mind, but it had to.
Were you ever just exhausted of it all? Did you ever feel like, I mean, you had such a long career, such a prolific career. Were there ever times you're like, you know what? I just can't do this anymore.
Not really. No, with me, no. I couldn't believe that people paid me to do something I loved doing. And I love taking pictures. I was a huge sports fan. I mean, to pay, and don't forget, they not only send you to take pictures doing something you like, then they publish it, and you started off, one of the first things you said when we began this podcast was that seeing my name, I still get a kick out of seeing it. That's true.
That's amazing.
I always enjoyed it. I got great satisfaction when I succeeded. I was disappointed when I didn't, and I still feel the same way.
You know, when I started shooting BMX and stuff like that, there was a lot of other people shooting. But once I started getting pages, I noticed that guys would be like waiting for me or like would placate more to my lens or whatever. Did that happen with sports? Did you go and like become friends with, I mean, I know you had personal relationship with Ali and stuff like that, but like, did that happen all over the place with you? Because you were getting these guys, they needed you. They needed you to shoot, right?
Well, sometimes, yeah. Sometimes, I mean, I can't think of a particular instance, but yes.
Yeah. So was there ever a moment where you had to like make a choice between making someone look better because you were friendly with them as opposed to the genuine story that was actually happening? Like, was there something like that?
It never hurts to be friendly with the photographer.
Okay. All right.
I mean, you might spend a little more, but I always prided myself in handing in the best possible result I could give my editors.
Yeah.
Because I wanted the next assignment. I mean, I drove in today with Joe McNally took me in.
Who's that?
Joe's
Joe McNally.
Joe's been a friend of mine forever. We were talking about this, and I said to him, that I'm sorry. He asked me a question. I was gonna just before the question just before was.
Did you ever hedge towards making someone look better because you're friendly with them, or did you go for an actual story that might have not looked favorable on them? You said that it's always helpful to be friendly with the photographers.
Yeah. No, I was trying to think of a particular instance where I didn't do much fashion, but I always wanted to make people look good.
Yeah.
You don't want to make, I photographed Charles Manson when I did an essay on prisons. I wanted to make him look as good as I could make him. I wanted people to see what this guy really looked like. There was nothing good about Charles Manson.
Yeah, you think?
But I wasn't trying to make him. I mean, I did this years ago. This is a good story, I think, for you. Okay. I did Charles Manson, and Charles Manson was known because there's one picture. I think it was when he first got arrested, and they brought him in, and he bug-eyed at the camera. He had these huge eyes, and people always looked at that picture. Always to this day, you'll see it pointed out. You could see he was a nutcase. Look at those eyes.
Yeah, dude.
Well, a few years later, I got to do a Time magazine cover on Paul Newman, who was known for his pretty blue eyes. He had just made the movie The Verdict, which he ultimately won the Oscar for.
Wow.
And Time magazine was going to put him on the cover, and I was assigned to shoot him. I'm a big movie buff, and I'm a filmmaker, so I really was excited about it. I went to his house in Westport, Connecticut, and I shot all day with him. And he was very, very cooperative. At the time, cover was good business for them. His agent, his manager, they were all thrilled about it. And I had taken a macro picture of Charles Manson's eyes. But I took not bug-eyed, but normal. Just looking
nice and close to him for that, huh?
macro. All I had, top of his nose, bridge of his right, fill the frame. Again, you had to fill the frame with Charles Manson's eyes, because I wanted to show people that side of him. When I said I didn't want to make him look good. I didn't want to make him look like the nutcase he looked like when he bug-eyed the camera. I took the same exact picture of Paul Newman's eyes. And I framed it exactly the same way. And I was lecturing for a while. I used to show both pictures, and I'd ask the audience, one of these guys is a killer, the other one is not. You'd be amazed how many people pick Paul Newman.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so making them look good.
Perception.
I wasn't trying to make Charles Manson look like a nutcase. He was a nutcase. Yeah. And he deserved everything he got. But I didn't want to. I could have said, Mr. Manson, could you mind, I mean.
Mr. Manson.
Yeah.
What was it like getting that call when you say, hey, we're going to need you to photograph Charles Manson at that time?
Well, I had done I pursued him. He and I communicated he wrote me letters. He wanted money. We wouldn't pay him. Time you don't pay a subject. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I think there's a respect. I spent a year doing prisons for Time. We did 7 maximum security. You'd spend all day, and there's nobody more litigious than inmates. As I said, I'm proud of my stuff. That's not sports.
Go for
so
it.
The Time magazine's legal department, of course, you don't dare shoot pictures of an inmate. They certainly don't want to run one that they don't have a release.
Yeah.
I had release, and a lot of these guys, some of these guys, they talk to you all day, but they don't want their photograph because their families are out there. Their kids are grown up now, and some of them didn't know their father was in prison.
Oh.
A lot of times, this was in the early 80s, or 1982, and it wasn't unusual for kids to grow up. Their mother had told them their father died in Vietnam, when in fact their father was in prison.
Right.
And I tried to do. I wanted to show what it's like to live in a maximum security prison, and it was hard just to get. Everyone thought it's got to be dangerous. It wasn't. You were safer there than you'd certainly be on a New York subway right now. I think
That's objective.
I mean, the fact of the matter is that the inmates respected the fact that you were in there. You weren't armed, and by the way, you don't have an armed guard with you. They wouldn't dare put the guard. Do you have a guard? But I always kept them back because they don't like prison. He was just there in case I needed help. these guys, most of them, all they do is lift weights and work out.
Yeah,
It would have been bye Neil if I'd let that happen, you know. But I never had any problem. And Manson was, once he agreed to do it, I had the whole day with him, and he couldn't have been more agreeable.
Do you feel that that's kind of the backbone of your images? I feel like you really go to the core of humanity more than anything, especially if you're going to go to see Charles Manson. Like, I want to see who he is, not make him a perception of what people think he is.
And yes, exactly. But also the story we're doing, the magazine was not doing a story, which is that's how I convinced them to let me do it. I said, we're not going to talk about the Lo Bianca, Sharon Tate killing. We're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what is life like for the best known inmate in America. What is it like? What does he do when he gets up in the morning? What does he do? What does he do all day?
Yeah.
They don't keep him in a cell all day. He's out 23 hours a day, you know.
Tell the story no one else is telling, kind of, right?
Yeah. Well, you wanted. I wasn't trying to humanize him or any of the others. Some of these people were in for crimes as bad as his.
Oh yeah.
Just
it was
not
high profile.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we're going to run out of time before we get to anything. How did you make the jump into documentaries? I know that you're a visual medium type person, but how did you go from stills to going to documentaries? And are there any projects that you still want to get to that you just haven't yet?
Yeah, I'm trying to do another. I wrote a book called Relentless, was sort of my career, and it was published by University of Texas Press. I'd like to do a documentary on my career, and I'm trying, but they're very hard to get. Someone's got to finance them. Got any rich people to listen to our podcast?
I mean, you know, we make some things happen here. I don't know. You know, we might listen. If there's one thing I can do, it's find sponsors.
No. I just find subjects that interest me. You know, I've been I shot 8 or 9 short films, just all sorts of subjects. I shot one in a Chinese restaurant. I shot a very good documentary that was picked up here. What's that? I forgot the not Netflix, but one of the lesser known, but it was picked up on an Irish pub called Neary's. It used to be on 57th Street. Mr. Neary was an immigrant who came over. I went to Ireland and photographed him there. Had a great time. I mean, his customers were Mayor Bloomberg, Cardinal Dolan, Kathy Lee Gifford. I interviewed all of them in the film. I get excited about projects.
Yeah.
And whatever comes, whatever interests me. There's a place I hung out. You know, it was my local pub. Good food. I liked the place. Yep. But I got fascinated by the family.
Oh, I see.
His daughter, a woman named Una Neary, she was second in compliance at Goldman Sachs, and ultimately, she just retired sort of from what she was doing, but she was the head of compliance at BlackRock, the biggest bank. You know, brilliant. She waited tables at Erie's in the evening because she loved her father, and you know. So the story fascinated me, and you know, and the people that were in Mayor Bloomberg was a regular customer. Cardinal Dolan was there all the time, as I said, and it was fun to do.
Do you have anything upcoming that you want to shout out?
I got lots of things I want to do. I'm trying to get this doc. Well, I've just finished my newest book, which is a book on horse racing that Taschen will be publishing later this year, and I'm really proud of it. It's turned out it's a beautiful book, and
do you have a title for it yet, or?
Yeah, the title is called Horse Racing.
Oh, amazing. Groundbreaking.
Neil Leifer's Horse Racing.
But your name on it alone. If you're watching some playback, whatever time, it might be out by now, so make sure you check that out. Man, I feel like you go forever, but I don't think
Where did the time go? I didn't realize. Wow.
Says that with this
first time I looked at my watch.
See, and this is how New York talks New York. You know what I'm saying? But I think you have.
Imagine if we slowed down. This would have been a 3-hour show.
I slow down. There's so much stuff to get.
I mean, a speech pattern. Slow down.
When you look back at your career, what is the first thing you think about? When you look back at decades of it, what is the first thing that hits you?
Same word I used about taking pictures, luck. How lucky I've been. I never dreamed. The honest truth is when I started in photography, I had no idea there was a profession. That, you know, this was a hobby. was a hobby. I loved taking pictures. I belonged to the Henry Street Settlement in Lower East Side.
Yeah, but you took
We
a
had
free
photo lab.
photography class, right? Isn't that what happened?
It wasn't a class. No, I never took a class. My generation photographers mainly learned by shooting, and critiquing your own work and figure out the mistakes you made and improve them. But I had no idea there was a profession. I thought it was like stamp collecting or coin collecting. I'd grow out of it. One of the lovely things about photography is if you're not making a living doing it, you are photographing your family, your holidays, Christmas, Hanukkah,
Hanukkah's a good one.
watching your kids grow up. I mean, I love taking pictures. I always thought I would use the photography, but I never thought it would be my job, that I'd spend my life working as a photographer.
What was that turning point when it stopped becoming a hobby? What was that turning point?
People began publishing my pictures and paying me, and I said, that's what I was trying to say. The idea of growing up in a poor family. I lived in a low-income housing project in the Lower East Side. I couldn't afford good seats at a baseball game. I couldn't afford cheap seats at a baseball game or a football game or whatever. The idea that someone is paying me to go do something I love doing, could put my name under my picture if they publish it, and more important than that, they're giving me the best seat in the house. Yeah. Where do you shoot the baseball game from? You're sitting right next to the Yankee dugout.
Amazing.
Oh, my beloved Brooklyn Dodgers. They were a little too early for me for me to shoot.
How did it feel when they left Brooklyn? Did you break your heart?
Yes, it did. I still think about it occasionally.
Yeah, I believe it. I heard stories that you actually used to break into games. I heard that you used to hop in and get in there and sneak in. Is that true?
Never. The word sneak was never. No, I found a way to get in, which is not. No. But this is true. I found out every Sunday.
I love this.
Every Sunday at Yankee Stadium, there was an Army Veterans Hospital, which about 3, 4, 5 blocks from Yankee Stadium. Now, in those days, stadiums didn't have to be wheelchair friendly. You didn't have to. They used to pull up two, depending on how cold it was or what the weather was like, 2 or 3 buses would pull up with wheelchair-bound Army veterans, and they'd bring them down the slope, the driveway where the bullpen is, where they bring trucks in to bring in the produce that you need to maintain the stadium. All things to fill the concession stands, the food stands, and they wheel these Army veterans in, and they'd line up the wall along the Yankee Stadium outside, and they'd watch the game. They were on the field. Yeah. When I found out that they could do it, they never had enough people to help wheel in the wheelchair. So when I say I didn't sneak in, I was on the field, and I did get that. I didn't have a ticket. I would volunteer the people
Good
running.
Samaritan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but unlike the other Good Samaritans, who the minute they got on the field, they realized it wasn't a great place to watch the game from. They ran into the stands. I stayed for the whole game because I was on the field, and I would help wheel them out. So they used me every week. And of course, I took my first important picture at the most famous game was called the greatest game ever played. That was the Baltimore Colts beat my New York Giants, so in Johnny Unitas' team, and way back, touchdown, right? And I was on the field, but I was on the field. Yeah. And even when I was on the field, I had my trusty shikomat in those days, and by then I graduated. I would bring a cup of coffee because I felt sorry for the security guard on the Giants side. Bring a cup of hot coffee because they had that for the veterans. And guess what? He looked the other way when I took my camera out until the New York press photographer spotted me, and then they chased me back to where the Army veterans were.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
But I didn't sneak in. There's stories get told like that they're half true.
Yeah. I have no idea what that's like. Oh my! You just proved Listen, I always tell you guys, you create your own opportunities, and I think you are a living testament to that. I mean, the decades you have, the prolific career, the images that you've had out there that have infected the brains of guys in my generation to go out there and shoot. You didn't just shoot, Neil. You created a higher level platform, a higher level of getting this job to where it has to be, what this industry is, what images actually are to our actual culture. This has been a bucket list for me. You have no idea what you just did for me, Neil. You have no idea what you just did for me.
Thank you, Seth. I enjoyed it, and believe me, I've enjoyed every minute. I was very lucky to fall into this career, and I'm still lucky. Things are still going the way I'd like them to go.
I think we're all lucky. We got a whole catalog shot by Neil Leifer in this world, and be on looks for his next book out there. Of course, Neil completely committed and is 100% bound to shooting zombies with me. You heard it here live. He has no way to get out of it. I want to thank Joe McNally for hooking this up, my man over here who was like, nope, this is Neil. If you do not know Neil Leifer and you are on this channel, check yourself. What are you doing with your life? I am ashamed of you. Go follow at least his social media. Check out the books that are coming out. Hit all the links down below. Neil, you want to get something to Nosh?
Yeah, why not?
Let's go hit the diner. Guys, we're going to get the diner. Enjoy the rest of your week. I don't know when we're live again. I'm all weirded out now. Goodbye. Later, guys.